In this video, I'm sculpting a model at 3/4 scale in water-based clay. And as you can see here, I've just started off with the profile picture. Now I've included here the picture of the front and the profile so that you can compare them to the sculpture. At this stage, I'm just taking my first measurements, which is chin to hairline, and I've built out the profile of the face looking at the photo. And you can see I'm just looking at the relationship between the hairline and the chin there to get the angle right. And now when I turn it to the front, you can see that's the angle of the head that I'm going for. So I've got her leaning over to one side. Now here I'm finding the tragus points, which are a key measuring point. This method that I'm showing you here is exactly the method that I teach in my online course, Strong Foundations. So this can be applied to any model or person that you've got access to. So you just need to take some photos and a few key measurements, and that will help you get a really solid structure. The way that I'm building this up is a little bit of clay at a time. So I'm applying the clay in kind of small blobs because I want to go for a more of an artistic, sketchy surface than I do when I'm doing my celebrity sculpts. When I'm doing my celebrity sculpts, I know that they're going to be done to a very smooth finish because they're obviously going to be for waxworks. But when I'm doing an art piece, sometimes I want to build up the clay to have more of a textured surface, and sometimes it's nice to be able to see the hand of the artist on the surface. So I'm not going to finish this one to a very smooth finish. It is going to end up being more expressive than some of those very smooth, highly detailed sculpts. This is one of my favourite scales to sculpt. It's 3/4 life size, so every measurement that you take, it's 75% basically of a life size head. It's big enough that it's easy to sculpt the forms. It's not too fiddly like some of the smaller sizes, but it is substantially smaller than life size, so it's a bit more practical for having sitting on your shelf, for instance. A life-size head is actually a surprisingly large object, so I find 3/4 scale is a great scale to work. You can see here I'm just building up the skull structure exactly like I do with the celebrity sculptures that you can see many videos of on this YouTube channel. I've got my eye arches, my zygomatic arch, the jaw shape, and now I'm building out the ears. So once I know that maximum width of the ears, then that helps you to do all the other widths from the front in relation to that. If you're interested to learn this technique in obviously a lot more detail, then you can head on over to my teaching website, which is sculptingmasterclass.com, and you can find all our courses. And Strong Foundations is probably our most popular course because it's suitable for any level of experience, even if you've never sculpted before. Everything's explained very clearly, from making armature all the way through the sculpting process, right up to getting an accurate likeness. And I actually sculpt that portrait in this sketchy style and also to a smooth finish, so that you can see the different ways of applying clay depending on what sort of finish you want to go for. Now I'm looking at the 3/4 angles, so once I've got the front and the side blocked out, Then I look from 3/4 angles, and then that's where you start filling in the sort of cheek areas. I always like to get all this structure very solid before I even think about putting eyes in. You can see here I'm just using a big S-shaped tool with blobs of clay and just pressing them on so that you leave that nice loose texture, because once you do smear clay on, then you've lost the ability to have any sort of gaps and nice sketchy finish. Here the eyes are going in then, so I've looked from the front and worked out what height I want them to go and where the inner and outer eyes are roughly, and then I put in the eyeballs, and then I build up the upper and lower lids. And you can see this model is looking off down to the side. I thought this was an interesting expression to go for. The direction that your eyes are looking at obviously impacts the whole shape of the eye. So that's the bottom lid on, and now I'm using a flattened clay sausage to put on for the upper eyelid. And I'm just using a small S-shaped tool to model it in. So you can see even from that stage, you can see that she's looking down to her left, even without drawing on the iris or anything. And that's because on your eyeball you have what you call a corneal bulge, which is a sort of raised disc area where your iris is, and that pushes out the upper and lower lids in the direction that your eye is looking. So even before you've made an indication on the surface of where they're looking, you should be able to tell just by the shape of the eye exactly where they're looking. So it's moved along a little bit more here, and you can see that I've modelled in the eyes in a bit more detail, and I'm actually hollowing out the iris area. And when you do this, it makes the iris a much darker shade than the rest of the clay because it's obviously in shadow. And it just helps bring the eye to life, I think. It just makes them read as a darker colour and makes you believe that they're actually a living eye. Some people like to leave the surface really sketchy like this, and I also really enjoy looking at sculpts that are very, very sketchy like this, but I can see that I did carry on a bit further with this than this stage. But obviously when you're making your own work, you can decide to stop whenever you like. That's one of the great things about being an artist. All these decisions are yours to make. You may want to leave lots of empty gaps and just really make you be able to see the hand of the artist. Here I'm just adding on to some of that fullness of the cheekbone there, so I will be looking at it from the other side and then just adding to the furthest away side. And here I'm using a loop tool to just very lightly scrape away the surface just to unify the forms without losing any of that nice texture. And then I'm using a S-shaped tool to press on the forms again just to help unify without losing some of that expressive hand of the artist texture. I'm turning it round and you can see that this is how I decided to finish it. hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. And if you are interested in learning any of these techniques in a lot more detail, please do have a look at my teaching website, sculptingmasterclass.com, where we have classes on portrait sculpting, figure sculpting and artistic anatomy.